Hello friends, this is Tracy Brown, your somatic nutrition therapist and attuned eating expert. And we are on our second day of the physiology of fight, flight, freeze, or please, and what happens to our food. And so on Monday's video, we did a review on fight and flight eating. And today we're going to do a freeze and fawn. And I know some of these things can get a little confusing and we can then get into our head about like, am I in the right place, and overanalyze it versus be in the experience and offer support to what feels like too much or not enough. So if you find yourself in your head trying to fix it, trying to figure it out, you're getting in your cognition again, right? So it's really important that you like, oh, I'm doing that thing where I'm trying to figure out the experience versus look at it, name it, and bring co-regulation to it. So with either myself, my environment, other people that are safe, and so on. All right, so let's talk about freeze today. So freeze happens, a shutdown happens when we've tried to do, whether we only had 1 or 2 minutes or we've had 10 years of being in this fight or flight response with functioning to trying to get through the best of maybe not the best situation, let's say, and that's how it's been impacting your food. Now, you may be somebody who doesn't stay in sympathetic very long before you shut down, or you may be somebody who goes back and forth a lot. But freeze is going to feel like basically things feel foggy. Things feel like they're not moving. There's a sense of not here-ness. There's a sense of things are too much. And we don't, like, we've basically checked out. We're watching ourselves above ourselves, or we've lost track of time, or maybe we just don't feel that real, or like things are actually happening and like we know we're there, but not quite there. That's what freeze feels like. Freeze happens when we have tried fight or flight, or we've attempted safety and it's not quite there, or we haven't been able to like help it land, or we just don't have a neural pathway for ventral, which is our safe and connected basically, which we'll talk about Friday. That's freeze. And we'll talk about what that looks like with food in a second. Our fawn response, we can call it fawn, we can call it feign, we can call it people pleasing. What that's going to look like is a little different, and that's what it sounds like, right? We're submitting our will. So it's almost like we're surrendering, shutting down to, I've got to do what the circumstance, the people in front of me need me to do for me to feel safe. So it's going to be a little bit more active, in my opinion, than straight up freeze. But there's still like this suppression of action. And the only action is like, okay, I've discerned what I've guessed, I've discerned, I've figured out what I think that this thing in front of me wants to not get hurt. And that can feel pretty shamey. It can feel, what's the point? I don't matter. It can feel like depression, but it's not really depression. It's interesting and definitely different. So what do those states look like in our physiology with food? So think about it. If things are slowing down to conserve energy because I can't escape, I can't fight this, I can't outthink it, everything slows down. So it's like a hibernation state. So we're going to make the assumption, right? If you just think about this from a physiology perspective, is that my digestion isn't gonna work that well, and maybe things are feeling like they're just not moving. That can definitely happen in fight or flight too, but it feels a little different. And it's like things are moving, but our awareness of it is blunted. So you don't really notice you have like really strong hunger until you have a headache and you feel nauseous and you're thinking, oh, I ate something wrong. Oh, the light's been too bright in here. That all could be true, but it also could be, wow, I've been really checked out and I haven't eaten in 7 hours and I couldn't tell you if I'm hungry or not. I don't know. And I only feel headachy. I haven't felt hunger all day. That's what freeze can look like when we are disconnected from disembodied, and we don't feel our hunger signals, right? And we'll say, oh, I wasn't hungry, so I didn't eat. I must be doing intuitive eating. And I'm like, it's been 8 hours. Like, where is your hunger? Because what you told me you ate the day before, or even the little tiny bit you ate at breakfast, cannot take you 8 hours and not have body signals and sensations. If you're not feeling that, that tells me you're not fully down and in in your body. What's been feeling like too much, or where did you go? That's what freeze is going to feel like kind of just out of it. You can call it functional freeze too, where it's like I'm doing my day, but I'm not fully in who I am when I'm doing. People please, fawn, are going to look like I am just moving myself over. I'm going to move myself back here. What do they need me to do or to say or to be with my food to feel like I won't get criticized here? I won't get shamed. I'll do what they want me to do. This is just easier with food. I'll buy the shirt that they really want me to buy, because if they don't, they're going to give me a hard time about it. Whatever it is, that's what it's going to look like with food and body. Or I'm doing movement in gym class, or I'm doing whatever it is just to get through this. I'm just going to put my will, my needs is pushed aside. And how many of us have done that, right? In the course of trying to survive in diet culture, trying to get away from somebody's projection and garbage around food and body. We've all done it. That's what please looks like. So you have to put aside. It's almost like you have to disavow that you didn't like the food or that you liked the food. So it's a disconnection from your true needs, desires, wants. And that's feign and please and all that. So it's a disconnection. Physiologically, a lot of times I see a lot of GI stuff with freeze, because it's like you're like in and out, telling your body, go, stop, go, stop. Is it safe enough to go? Like literally the bathroom. So a lot of IBS happens here. Because, if you drop into checking out, you still have to digest. So sometimes you might just struggle with looser stools, let's say, after a period of a lot of high freeze where you can't go. Like your high freeze would be really anxious, sympathetic, and then you go again. So I know some of these terms are a little, I'm double using some of the meanings, but anyway. What you're also going to notice is that sometimes in that freeze response, it can feel very overwhelming, very sad, very upsetting to not feel yourself. Feel where your edges are, feel like something's here for you, whether they're on the inside or maybe on the outside. And that can feel really disconcerting. So we might eat. We don't really know if we're hungry. We don't really know where our fullness is. We just don't know where our edges are. So I think that's really important to where am I in, and if we don't know where we are or if something's here, we might eat to feel something. I see a lot of that. So the opposite is, of course, I lost track of time and my body's needs, and I didn't eat for hours and hours, or I don't know what my needs are, and I don't feel good. And the same thing's going to happen on the other end. And so, of course, you can imagine if it's more on the people-pleasing end that we may be eating or not eating what's a match for our system when we feel like we've got to eat in a certain way or not eat in a certain way to not provoke somebody else's projection, basically, or harm. And again, those aren't matching. So that's what all this stuff looks like with food. I would say lastly, I notice sometimes people will use substances to, again, feel something, to get themselves out of freeze. And so it seems like a really good idea to take diet pills, and it juices you up and it makes you feel like, yeah, I'm doing something great, and I can feel myself, I feel something. And by default, maybe it's making me lose weight. So you get out of your own freeze by being really pumped up by the adrenaline of going on a diet. It's not real safety, it's faux safety. We know there's harm and consequences that comes to that, but again, that's what sometimes the culture offers. So what do we do with freeze? We have to feel our body again, right? It's simple. We don't do it with chronic exercise. People who try to feel something with exercise end up just kind of jumping themselves back into a sympathetic, and that's not going to work. But what we can do is simply stand up and contract a muscle, tense something and relax something, take a deep, big breath with our rib cage and feel that there's something inside for us in there. Humming, singing, gargling, pushing against a wall, just even have an awareness that you're not fully aware is a way to get out of this dorsal kind of freeze and please kind of state, recognizing this is what's happening. There's lots more to do there, of course, in this work, but that's just a little bit of something to get you going. If you find yourself a lot of times checking out, I don't know where my edges are, start to find your body edges. You know, use a body brush to like know where your edges are to feel something. So I think it's really important to like play with that a little bit more. So that's all we have for today with this video. I don't want to go too deep and then you lose interest, whatever. But of course, that me and my team do a lot of this work over in one-on-one work. We also do it in the peaceful eating community. And on Friday, we're going to talk about ventral, our safe and connected, our place where we can problem solve and see the big picture and do nuance and play and rest and digest. We're going to talk about how we get there, what that looks like with food, and ultimately that's where we're trying to be most of the time. We're not going to be perfectly regulated all the time, but our goal is to feel more there. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in Friday's video. Bye for now.